And we are live on The Lonely TARDIS, your journey through Time Lords and space,
We
where
really need a
three
credit
lovely
sequence.
Yes, we should. We should put the call out there. If you want to help make us a
I'm
credit
sorry.
sequence
I
for
know
free,
you're in full
go
full
ahead.
throttle there, Dali, and I love
Yeah,
you for.
you
But
like
it's like,
you
but hang
you
on,
took
this
the
is one
wheel and
cheap
crashed
ass
into
podcast. Yeah,
forced
if
me to
you're a
crash
fan of the
into.
show, or if you're
Yeah.
the fan of the show,
The,
and you have any skill set musically and visually and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, we'll give you our undying gratitude. Just a shout out. We'll get you on the show. Not much else we can offer because we're all poor,
yeah,
but you know.
we
Yeah.
can
Sorry,
offer
Dali. Where were we? What
offer
are
a
we
love.
talking about now?
No, I was just saying three wonderful companions get together each week to talk about Doctor Who. And today we are actually in the TARDIS. Look at that. We are recording. We've managed to sneak our way in. There's the TARDIS that we're all somehow standing in. Don't worry. We're floating boxes within the TARDIS.
Which TARDIS is that, Dolly?
This is Shooty's.
Oh,
Yeah,
what? Really?
It's Google Street View. You can hop into Google Street View and actually get into the TARDIS, which is really fun.
Ah, damn. Okay.
I'm Dolly,
Okay.
as Sean mentioned my name, and that is Sean down there, right there.
Hello.
And this lovely gray-bearded man, Graybeard the pirate, Brownbeard the pirate, No Beard
It's
the
definitely
pirate.
great. It's
Kinda.
definitely great. But I would just like to say, yo, back up, y'all, and give a brother room. The fuse is lit, and Doctor Who's about to go boom.
Ooh, this is fantastic because we're talking about Boom tonight.
Boom, shake the TARDIS.
Boom, shake the TARDIS. Whatever
It's
you
the
just
snap
said.
happy chappy in the house.
This is the third episode of this season of Doctor Who. The 15th Doctor. Is it the 15th Doctor? Yeah, 15th Doctor. I don't even know anymore. Shooty Gatwa. Episode Boom, in which the Doctor and Ruby land on a planet somewhat deserted, but there's a war raging. Doctor steps on a soul-sucking mine that takes life away. Sorry, I have something in my eye there. And you instantly die and get sucked into some sort of cyberspace AI. Anyway, the Doctor standing on it, and eventually they come to find out that there actually is no war happening. It's all a ruse to keep the war machine going by corporations, and the Doctor and Ruby make their escape. In a nutshell, that was it. But as we all know, there's more to meet the eye. More than meets the eye. It is a late night. I'm sorry.
What have you been drinking?
Yeah, coffee so far. Sake it to me. But this was a pretty heavy episode. And I think we had some thoughts coming out of this one. And I want to start with Marcus this week on your thoughts, just general thoughts of this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it?
Well, I got to say, it was Return of the Moth. Return of the Moth. Oh, yeah. And you know what? He delivered. The Moth was back. The Moffat Meister. The anti-Chibnall. Bless him. The man who, when it comes to a full season, couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery. But the man who, when it comes to a one-off episode, delivers. This felt like Doctor Who season 1, 15, 28, whatever the fuck it is. It felt like Doctor Who. This was the season got up and running. It was claustrophobic at times. It was intense. It was tight. It had the political allegories. The whole, what's this? The military-industrial complex, manufacturing conflict, so people can die and they can make money. The NHS, it had a little, rub on the conservative running of the NHS. Yeah. And on that note, cheers.
All right, Sean, your thoughts on this episode? Quick thoughts.
Oh, I loved it. I think when we texted about it initially, it was I was hailing it as the best, possibly one of the best episodes since the end of Capaldi's run.
Okay. Wow.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's almost like greatest hits of Moffat all smashed in together. There were callbacks to his tropes. There were callbacks to some of his favorite writing styles and techniques. There were callbacks to things he's introduced, like the church being this sort of military arm. There were some fantastic one-liners in there. It was essentially a bottle episode. There were only like 5 people who've interacted with each other the entire time. It was a tour de force for Ncuti, finally. I shouldn't say finally. It's the 3rd episode of the new season. But it was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was well written. It was insanely well acted. I have almost nothing but positive to say about it. I loved it. I watched it 3 times now since it came out before we recorded.
What you got to say?
Who, me?
You said.
Since it's my turn, I really love this episode, and we say a bottle episode, and that's totally fine. There's so much depth in doing a little, right? It's the minimalism at its best in this episode. Like you said, there's only like 5 people. One of them is an AI, and they're actually more than 5 people because there are some like war scenes, whatever, but or camp scenes. But Susan Twist is in there. But I really did love what this did for just building up the character of all these, building up the strengths of all these characters involved. And there's just a super strong emotional gut punch. I mean, it's bittersweet. Like there is a death almost instantly, and then the realization of death. But then what I absolutely loved was the end. When they say, your father's gone, and the little girl says, no, he's not. And the way the way she says it, I can't remember the line completely, and someone knows the line.
He's not gone. He's just dead or something like that.
He's not gone. He's just dead. And I think that was whatever the line. Yeah, I think that was beautiful because we all experience loss, right? And loss sucks. Loss leaves a gaping hole in our heart. But the way that it's explained here is, listen, there's just the physical loss is gone. This person, her father, is still with them. And I think that the doctor even shed a tear again, right? Doctor cries a lot, but I think that to me, the whole aspect of loss and life in this episode just was awesome to me. I loved it, really loved it. One of my definitely up to that point, my favorite of the Ncuti Doctor Who episodes, and is a real banger. They're real good.
I only have only two critiques of the show. One, and it kind of ties into what we had talked about, where I felt like they were kind of whiz-banging around with the companions' time, and we're kind of like skimming over them building their relationship together. And it's like, they spent a lot of time, it's off screen or whatever. I found it odd that like this was the episode that she saw her first ever alien sky. But we've been sort of told they've spent more time together and they've been building it off. So it's just, I don't know. It still bugged me a tiny, tiny bit. Nothing to detract from the episode, but as the overall sort of writing, it bugged me a little bit. And then I thought the actress, child actress, teenage actress, I thought she was a little too old for the role based on how it was written, with the sort of daddy stuff over and over again and the denial and the insistence on the way. I thought it was all fine. That didn't work for me as much as I think they intentioned it to be. I think if she had been cast a little bit younger, it would have been a little more, it would have came off a little better.
She struck me as about 8 or 9 tops.
I don't know. She seemed older to me, but I'm also old now and I can't tell. So
I'm older and I still can't tell. I think you're only 22.
I wish. In my dreams, maybe. But other than that, I can't. We were quoting it for days afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Days afterwards. There's this one line where Ruby's like, since when is the church, a military or something like that? And the doctor goes, pretty much for most of your species history, like your time is just a blip. And we were just like, oh, that's so fucking cool. Ah. And then there's another one where near the end where the soldier shows up and she asks for help or science or something. I can't remember exactly what, but he snaps at her and he goes full like accent and he says something. He's like, oh yeah, you want that now? Faith girl. And it was just awesome. He was so engrossed in and he was all the different ranges of the emotional spectrum. He was steady, he was scared, he was crying, he was stoic, he was pissed. Oh my God. It was a tour de force. It was so well done. So well done.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it did tap back to Moffat's almost fetish level view of I mean, we had the papal mainframe in some of Moffat's best writings, the ones that involved the silence. So that was the Catholicism out the way. This time it was the Anglicans. I think the last time we saw them was with the Weeping Angels two-parter, I think it was, with River Song. And that was back in Matt Smith's heyday. But I love that. As I said, I love the whole idea of, oh, you're not, you're blind. It's going to take you 4 weeks. We're going to kill you now. Profit, healthcare for profit, which is something we experience in this country. I experience it on a daily basis, but is something that the UK was edging to. And, without going too super political, the UK is about to have on Independence Day, no less, a huge general election where we might actually see the end of the current government after 15 plus years. So that's really, really, really interesting. This was the first time the Doctor sang, and I didn't get pissed off at it because to sing to say, this is where I am, follow my voice, la-di-da-di-da. And it was a great song. That worked for me too. The fact that we had a callback, and Sean actually pointed this out before I realized it. We had a callback to the arms company, going back to the Doctor dances. Way back in season 1, Christopher Eccleston, episode 3 or 4, whatever it was. And how he put that particular company out of business. That looped back really nicely as well. He didn't over egg the pudding. He didn't over salt the broth. And this was Moff, where he was at his best, and he's come in. He's like, I've got 2 episodes to write. I got this one, and I got the Christmas special. I don't need to go absolutely batshit. I've talked with Russell T. He's told me some of the bits and the bobs and what needs to be tucked in and what needs to be the overarching. And now I can just go, and he did. He just nailed every single beat. I mean, like I said,
what did he do?
Like,
beautiful. I had to turn it into a GIF.
He nailed every single beat, but he was the one after, unfortunately, 3 episodes were shooting before this that were not brilliant by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the Christmas special was good, but not it's not even the top 10 Christmas specials. We had Star Babies or Space Babies, whatever the fuck it was, which was Sean's probably most hated episode in the last 200,000 years. And it's not, I'm with him because I rewatched it and I'm like, a little cringy. And then we had, the all singing, all dancing episode, which was 45 minutes of greatness, 5 minutes of what the fuck. But this had restraint. This had, what Moffat brings is that he has this restraint in his writing. Russell T is like, oh, we're going to have a big this, that, and big that, and the other. Are we going to be, and Moffat's just come in and gone, no, I only want half a dozen members of my cast. We're going to be filming on this really fancy, we saw the tech. If you've gone to Doctor Who website, you saw the big ass video screen, which actually showed the alien landscape, which is, God bless Disney money, because I'm sure that helped the actors. Can you imagine being an actor and saying, no green screen today, this is where you're going to be, and you look around, it's like, fucking hell, I'm on Uranus. Oh, bloody hell. But I'm sure that's going to help them. And I thought all the performances were ratcheted and so good. I thought Millie did a good job of being awestruck and a little panicky, but not over the top. I actually thought the little girl. I thought the little girl was excellent.
She was.
I have a slightly different view, I think, because as somebody who's just gone through parental bereavement, I'm still working through that grief. And the way she tackled it was not the way I tackled it. That's still not the way I'm tackling it, but it really resonated, and I thought she did. She did a great job. I thought yes, we've got Miss Let's Twist again, like we did last episode. She was in again, and this. We don't want to get to the last episode and it be a total bad wolf, where it turns out to be, Rose Tyler at 906 going, "Oh, I am Susan Twist and the bad wolf and Mrs. Blood and blah blah blah." But yeah, I thought it just ticked all the boxes. It's the best Ncuti Gatwa episode. It really felt like his moment had arrived. He got to show some chops and not just be, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but, the big flamboyant doctor. He wasn't the big flamboyant doctor. He was sadness. He was rage. He was terror, everything. And Moffat actually said that he took a lot of inspiration from Genesis of the Daleks, the great Tom Baker story. And you could see that. And I actually just rewatched that about 2 weeks ago. And so, yeah, I could see a lot of similarities in that. And I just thought it was triple tick. It was just perfect.
I'm gonna hop in with a little bit of just a little. You guys have kind of covered everything that I was gonna say, but I think one of the real interesting aspects was the Doctor is able to do so much by standing still. He's standing still this entire episode, right? And I thought that was really interesting because there's this sense of everything revolving around the Doctor, because all this stuff is sort of happening around him, and he's unable to interact with anyone. I mean, he can barely move. He can't get his heart rate up or down because he's a Time Lord, and if this thing goes boom, it's going to take everything out with him. And he's forced to stay calm, but not being able to affect anyone out there in front of him, except with very little words, right? He says things, but he relies on the others to resolve stuff. And then when Ruby ends up getting shot, right? I thought there was that was an incredibly interesting scene in that she gets accidentally killed, so to speak, and it takes the hospital bot to come back and bring her back to life and so on, and or whatever. And so there were aspects of this episode that I felt really worked as sort of the kind of a holistic. You couldn't do certain things if these things didn't happen. You couldn't tell the story in the way it did. And one thing was the setting. We talked a little bit about the setting of the episode. I love the setting. I loved kind of reading up. I think I sent you guys the text that showed the link. Everything was done on this giant Unreal Engine Unreal developed backdrop. I love that Disney money made everything look beautiful. But they did so much with so little in terms of location, in terms of actors, in terms of there was action, but the overall sense was a lot was happening with so many things standing still that I felt that it was a great way to create tension without creating a whole lot of movement. I thought that was really, really kind of excellent. The Doctor typically is just like, Ncuti's been this flamboyant dude. He's been hand waving. He's been wearing kilts. He's been singing and dancing. And this was a completely opposite episode where none of that was happening. It's dark. It's grim. There's hardly any movement, but it has almost as much, if not more, impact. And I thought that was, it just felt felt so good from that standpoint. I mean, I loved it. It's the first episode that I rewatched of the Ncuti era, of the 15th Doctor. I hadn't rewatched the others yet, and I typically will kind of pick and choose the Doctor Who episodes that I rewatch, and this was the first one of these. Besides the Christmas, I didn't rewatch the Christmas episode, I should say, but this episode 3 was the first one that I actually rewatched of this season, and I thought, it is a rewatchable. It is a classic Doctor Who episode that you can give to anybody and say, watch this. It's Doctor Who. This is what he's all about. You know what they're all about. It's about character storytelling. It's about trust, because there's a whole big aspect about trust and tossing the canister and things like that. So this is Doctor Who, and I thought it was great. And you guys said it kind of takes the bits and pieces of what Moffat's really good at and puts them together and actually makes it cohesive for a change.
He even sings a song. I think I texted you guys this too. He sings a song, and the lyrics are a callback to when Missy sits with Clara talking about Capaldi, who was missing at the time, or the Doctor's missing at the time, about the stealing the moon and the president's wife. He sings a song that is a callback to Moffat dialogue from 7 or 8 or 9 years ago. Like it's so fun. Yeah. And I think it'd be remiss, you touched on it a little bit, Ali, just to talk about, Ncuti basically, he was a tour de force of 45 minutes almost in the same spot. He couldn't move. He moved once, and it was just to shift his weight. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. To not have any environment around you, to not be able to use the environment, to not be able to bounce off of people except completely stationary is phenomenal acting talent and ability. Yeah. Like, it really, really is.
The body control is just phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't do that for like 90 seconds without wanting to scratch. So yeah, you're right. He was absolutely brilliant.
No TARDIS, no Sonic, no way to do anything except control his heart rate and his emotions. Yeah. Well, maybe not his emotions, but the overall, yeah. And of course, there's no threat. I mean, there's not going to pull some crazy MacGuffin out and nuke the new companion in episode 3, but still, like, getting to see it while they experience it in the moment and watching her get shot and fall and his reaction to that. And,
it had Bill.
You don't see a companion shot every day, that's for sure.
No, it reminded me of the impact of Bill, the final episode of Bill and becoming the Cyberman. I thought that had a lot of
gets me.
Yeah, that had a lot of that same feel here. It was small, but it had that same, like, wow, someone just got, like, the companion just got shot, and they're going to go through life knowing that they've been, potentially killed. So,
interesting on the subject of companions. This did also introduce us to Barada Setu. Setu. I can't pronounce the last name. I apologize if I butchered it. Who played Monday Flynn? Now she has just been announced a couple of weeks ago as one of the companions for season 2. Yep. She's joining Millie. But she is not playing Monday Flynn, which I thought she was. But I sit corrected after Mr. Norton put me right on a few things. And it's interesting. She has revealed that she was not cast as a companion for Series 15 until long after Boom had completed filming. And Russell T Davies has confirmed that the character will not be Flynn, but there is an eventual connection between the two. So, read into that what you will, because, it's Russell. And I mean, this is the other thing that we're going to talk about, I think, especially in the next episode, that Russell will create a bunch of threads and then forget to tie them all together, because that is his one weak point. I mean,
it's one of them for sure.
Yeah, he is not good at nailing the landing. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm just reading some various stuff online here that they originally planned on shooting for 20 days at a quarry in Wales.
Oh, wow.
Scouted it, realized it wasn't right before building a set at Wolf Studios in Cardiff, named after Bad Wolf, which is Julie Tranter. And they built a set there, and that's where they went with a huge LED screen with that backdrop, which, I felt really, really worked well. I cannot speak highly enough. I actually kind of wish this had been the first episode of the season. Now I do understand there's no way they could have done that with Russell T not writing the first episode, but I think that would have been an absolute gangbusters way to start and introduce people to Doctor Who. I'm sorry, Mike.
Apparently, he wanted to do that, and Moffat talked him out of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, too heavy, too soon. Introduce all these new viewers and a new Doctor, and stick them on a landmine in the first episode.
Yeah,
watch the companion get shot.
But I mean, talk about raising the stakes from the get-go. It's like, this is not your standard hero and bad guy of the week. This is like, oh shit, he stepped on this, and it's like major. But yeah, you're with him, you're gonna get killed. Buckle up, Buttercup.
Alternatively, what if we made a whole episode about talking babies and snot monsters?
Yeah, I know. It's come on.
That's a
I
very
really do think what's the
that.
shittiest script we could put out?
Well, no, I think that again we'll rewatch or re-listen to our episode about Space Babies where I felt it was completely fine. So let's kind of finish up with Boom here. Any final thoughts, and then we'll get into a rating here. Sean, final thoughts from you on Boom.
It's phenomenal. It's an easy 5 out of 5 for me. Sorry, spoilers, jumping ahead to the ratings. It is the kind of Who that if you're lucky once a season you get an episode like this. If you're really lucky, you get an episode like this every 2 seasons. I can rewatch this for years. This is the kind of Doctor Who I can introduce people to who haven't watched the show or fell off of the show. I can see this episode being talked about for years. It's just, and it has everything. I mean, even had like body horror. We haven't talked about it, but like this ambulance's ability to nuke you in seconds and then turn you into a meat tube and then stick an AI in you so that you kind of live forever in a horrifying way.
That's the way I want to go.
Yeah.
By the way,
sure, meat tube for you. Okay.
In about 5 years, I literally want you to be doing this show with my meat tube on the screen and my AI sitting next to it.
Your meat tube's always on my screen, but that's neither here nor there. It was just a treat. And then we didn't really talk. I mean, we touched on it a tiny bit, but the capitalistic, militaristic, there's nobody on the planet. They are just fighting themselves. They're fighting shadows. They're fighting mud, and they have no idea. And they're dying, and they're being replaced, and it's just for profit. And it's topical, and it's disgusting, and it's amazing, and it's Doctor Who at its best. And I miss Moffat. I do. I know we talk, we go back to the archives, we talk at length about his inability to be as great as a series-long showrunner as he is in a one-off with somebody else at the reins. But when you have that, this combo with him and Russell T Davies is just, it's such a reminder of how great this show really can be. And I think one of you said the anti-Chibnall, which is, it is just such a refreshing return to what we all love. So... Also, I think Ruby is some sort of space magic. She keeps making it snow. It's weird.
I'm gonna hop in with my kind of closing thoughts. A great, just a terrific episode, and they've been building all season, and these first 3 episodes, and the ability for this episode to constantly mess with my expectations and throw twists when I didn't expect twists. Like I didn't all of a sudden Ruby shot. All of a sudden they're priests and there's a holy war going. All of a sudden they're not fighting against anybody because of whatever. The dad dies. The little girl brushes it off. There's these expectations that are broken every single time. Even to the point where Ruby is quickly growing on me as the kind of companion that likes to defy the Doctor and really kind of forge her own path. Because other companions will do exactly what the Doctor says every time, or if they kind of do their own thing, it never seems to carry weight. They're still trying to, whatever. But I think in this case, Ruby has sort of figured out the 15th Doctor in some respects and is pushing in others. And I think that level of trust in this episode especially is growing. It's not like familial trust yet, but I think there's a really, really strong, push on that. But I just love the twists. I love all the turns. I love it was a very grounded episode by the end. After you wipe out all those layers, you're like, wow, it's really about like human connection. It's really about some basic ideas that are just shown in some unique ways. There's belief, there's corporate, there's all the stuff that we go through every single day. Social, there's anxiety, there's all this kind of stuff, and it comes out of those in a Doctor Who way. But I think it's just beautifully put together, and I enjoy it. I mean, I will give this one. You mentioned 5 out of 5. I'm going to give this also 5 death canisters out of 5.
Me too. Really quick, I just one of the things I did was I read some dialogue online where people could easily see previous Moffat Doctors swapping in this role with Ruby or older companions swapping in for with this Doctor, and I agree with that. One thing I disagree with, and it bugged me because people were like, "Oh man, it's too much like Clara. Clara she would insist on walking up, she would ignore danger, blah blah blah." I disagree. I actually think the way they wrote Ruby was very unique here, because if it was Clara, she would have just thrown that thing. She would have been like, "We're totally in sync. We're both Doctor."
Yep.
So I think people went a little too overboard, assuming it was a 1-to-1 comparison. I disagree with that. But I do think it would actually fun to imagine different Doctors in this position, or different companions with Shuti.
Yeah.
So,
how would they react? Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcus, your final thoughts.
Any Doctor Who episode where the Doctor, while standing on a landmine and about to get absolutely evaporated, can make a gag about one of the soldiers who's got a gun on him and his companion, and says, "If you two get married, you'd be called Sunday Monday." It's gonna get a 5 out of 5 from me just on the gag alone. I mean, talk about a dad joke from the Doctor.
It was awesome.
I mean, you have said everything that I agree with. This was primetime Moffat. There was so much restraint in the acting. It could have been easy to have gone big and gone blue and woe is me! My foot, it stands on a landmine. I'm the Doctor. I just regenerated. Let's say, what about it? And Ncuti was awesome. Ruby was great. The fact that they shot it was actually really worked really well, because I mean, it did add a sense of nobody's safe in the Doctor's universe.
Sure. Yeah.
The political stuff, obviously, I picked up on because I am what I am, and I just think it's the finest episode of Ncuti's run on Doctor Who, bar none. I know that bar is particularly low because we've had fair to middling to mediocre.
Well, he's just a baby. He's just a baby Doctor.
He's a space baby Doctor. But when the only high point was his 20-minute cameo in The Giggle, and that was the best, and we are now 4 episodes later. Thank God for the Moffmeister.
Yeah.
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5 meat tubes, and 5 out of 5 stars to all our lovely viewers and listeners. 5
out of 5 NHS robots.
There you go.
Sorry, onto the meat tube thing. Sorry, not after Sean's frankly smutty,
we don't want to know about
sexual harassment level comment about my
There you go. There you go.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Can I talk to HR, please, Dally?
Yeah, go right ahead.
You guys have HR?
Yeah,
We do.
in the household over there, he's got HR. But hey, excellent episode. We look forward to more of these types of episodes. We're going to cover the next episode real soon, 73 yards, right after this one. Stay tuned. You might have to just refresh your feeds. But you can find us at
Welsh, isn't it?
Yeah, lonelytardis.com. We're going to have all the episodes start to pour onto there. You can subscribe to our YouTube and our Facebook and X and Twitter and yada, yada, all those places. And find us individually. Dolly, Marcus, and Sean, all over the place. Most importantly, right here in your eyeballs and in this TARDIS. Look at this beautiful
Say
TARDIS.
goodnight, Tommy.
I'm gonna see y'all. I love you. See you in the next episode of The Lonely TARDIS.
He's been on Juju Beans again.
I should have joined this chat as MeatTube.